nobody does it better than us.
I'm the Chief Exec at Herefordshire Football Association. In terms of how I got into this role, I worked at the Football Association down in London for about 7 or 8 years. Left there to qualify as a solicitor, specialising in sport. Then worked at another big local county football association before moving to the Rugby Football League as Director of Projects and Legal, so national governing body for Sport Rugby League, and then moved to Herefordshire Football Association from there. Mental health is a massively important part of my life, both personally and professionally. I became aware of the organisation through the work that you're doing through the Football Association with other county FAs and football organisations. And yeah, was just really keen to talk to you guys. Like most men, I have the mask, which is, you know, I'm completely bulletproof. I don't show emotions, all of that sort of stuff. But as I say, I'm actually pretty good at showing that side now. I think probably the biggest mask that I wear now is that it's always been this way. And particularly when I look back at certain periods of my life, you know, there was some pretty big masks that I was wearing during those times, and that everything was great if you were asking those around me, but behind the scenes that was pretty far from the truth, to be honest. So look, I'm really fortunate in terms of when you look at my career, you know, I've always worked in sport. Sport's something that I'm massively passionate about, and right from the get-go, I've just had this really fortunate position. I've always worked in sport for quite a big part of my time. I've worked in kind of pretty senior leadership roles in sport. Obviously at the minute I'm Chief Exec of a county football association, so you know, I'm really lucky. My day involves just talking about sport all day, which I know lots of people would give a lot to be in that position. I've had lots and lots of challenges on the way. It's not been an easy journey by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, qualifying as a solicitor is really difficult to do, particularly with lots of things that were going on in my life at that time. But just, you know, was very driven and focused on what I wanted to achieve. And you know, ultimately, on the face of it, from a career point of view, you'd say that I've navigated quite a few hurdles along the way to be, quote unquote, successful. Which is, of course, is an interesting word in itself, but there we go. It's a really difficult question to answer in terms of how I've maintained this image of strength. It's just something that I suppose is drilled into you. Kind of, maybe it's a male thing, maybe it's a British thing. You know, stiff upper lip and brush yourself down and keep going. But I've just always portrayed this image that everything has always been fine. You know, people would probably say I was a bit of a joker. I was always kind of good to be around, I'd like to think, and I just kept that image all the time, despite the fact that, you know, as I said, there was lots of things going on that didn't match up with that at all. It was just always driven, focused, just to keep progressing. Maybe it was drilled into me from a young age. Maybe it's society. I don't really know. But yeah, just kept going. Yeah, and this is, you know, something that I've only very recently become comfortable talking about, really, and I think that's a really good sign in terms of I'm really fortunate where I am in my life at the minute. You know, as I said, go back, you know, 10 years, something like that. If you were going to say to people around me, what's going on with Alan, how is he? Everyone would say absolutely fine. You know, he's working in sport, he's working down in London in football, sport he loves, he's enjoying himself. You know, he's got a few things going on, but he's probably okay. But you know, behind the scenes, I was very poorly for a number of years. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. I'm not sure if that's actually what it was. It was just basically you tick everything off, and if it's not that, it's chronic fatigue syndrome. But what that meant was I would wake up, I would struggle into work, I would do my work, I would struggle home, and that would be it, really. I broke up with my girlfriend, sort of linked to that. I was living on my own, and I just became really isolated. I wasn't getting where I thought I should be in my career. I was desperately trying to become a qualified solicitor, and I wasn't getting a training contract, which is what you need to do to become a qualified solicitor. It felt like everyone around me was succeeding and growing and developing, and I wasn't. I was, as I said, to work, just about through work, wasn't getting where I thought I should be, back home, not seeing anyone for really long periods of time, and that kind of spiraled really. I think when you're isolated and you're not active, it doesn't really help. So, you know, I was not in a very good place at all. Was definitely depressed, was having really bad sort of mental health issues. And the bit that, as I've suddenly realised recently, was that you know, I considered suicide. I thought about it, and I never got beyond that point. And I'd always thought to myself, that's quite normal. People have challenges, right? And it's only as I've got older and I've got my own family, and I hear from people like you guys that actually I was quite far along that journey. And I sometimes wonder, you know, what might have it taken for me to have a different route. And I never got beyond those fleeting thoughts. I never, you know, actively, you know, was stood on the edge or anything like that. But I do sometimes wonder what could have happened. So yeah, all of that was going on. But as I said, those around me would have had no idea really. They would have known I was poorly and I was struggling, but they would have thought I was kind of coping okay, because, you know, as a person, as a man, that's what you're taught to do, and kind of that's what I did really. I think in terms of how I kept those struggles hidden, I just never really saw any alternative. I think in the last 10 years things have changed so much that people do feel more comfortable talking about these things now, but I have no doubt that there are people out there right now who are in exactly the same position that I was and aren't reaching out and aren't talking. I never saw an alternative. You know, I know now looking back that if I had have spoken out, people would have been there for me, but I just didn't feel comfortable doing so. Maybe it was shame. Maybe I just, you know, I was quite kind of focused on sorting myself out, and maybe I just felt like I didn't need anyone. Maybe it's embarrassment. I don't really know what it was, but yeah, I just I never reached out. And, you know, thankfully, as I said, I never got beyond that point. But, you know, I remember, you know, for a period of time, quite a long period of time, my journey to work would go past a really traditional spot in London where people do take their own lives, and you know, I would look up there and I would wonder what it would feel like, and wonder if that was easier than what I was going through at the time. And to look back now as a father and a husband and all that sort of stuff, and in my work and what I do, you know, I just wish I could go back and say, just don't keep that hidden. There's no point. Just speak to someone about it. And luckily it turned out okay for me. But, you know, you look at the stats, there's lots of people who it doesn't turn out okay for. And, you know, that's why I'm really keen to have these conversations. And I feel like the more people that get involved, the better, really. So yeah, I just never really saw an alternative. So I think kind of embracing those bits of me that you'd say are the more vulnerable points. So as I said, I've done lots of work on myself over the years, and I feel like I've really developed as a person, and the things that I've developed are the things that traditionally as a man you're not taught, particularly a man in a leadership role. You know, empathy, being a really caring individual, being very open and transparent and honest. I think those have made me a much better leader, and much better at what I'm doing, because I don't just have this narrow focus. I have an ability to see things from the wider point of view, and I've really sort of found that, you know, over the past, you know, sort of 5-6 years, that's been a real strength of mine, that not necessarily everyone has. So yeah, I think, you know, again, just looking at the kind of on paper, you'd probably say that those are, describe them as vulnerabilities, but I think it's just you as a person. Like, every person has these things within them. It's just about, one, learning to unlock them yourself, but two, understanding that actually they're a position of strength. I think if you spoke to the team and people that work around me, they would say that I'm caring and that I'm open and that I'm transparent, things that you might not necessarily say are traditional strengths. But I think particularly in 2024, I think having those strengths as a leader are certainly strengths. Yeah, so in terms of how that's affected me in my personal life, I think it's made me a better person. I think, you know, if you speak to my family, I think they would certainly say that having a husband and a father who is open and is vulnerable and shows his emotion and is caring and is empathetic is a better person. I feel better to be around when I have opportunities to display those characteristics, and I can see kind of in how my kids are developing as individuals that they're really fortunate to have both a mother and a father who can display those emotions to them. So yeah, I'd certainly feel that they are strengths, and I'm kind of proud that, you know, I have unlocked them within myself. It hasn't been easy. It's taken a lot of time and effort, but I'm really proud that I've been able to, for sure. Yeah, so in terms of advice I'd give to men who might be in similar positions, it is, please don't struggle on your own. We only need to look at the statistics in terms of where these struggles can end, and it doesn't need to be that way. There is a wealth of support out there. Times have changed. People are coming and speaking out about it, and that's one thing that another reason why I was really keen to do this was, I think me and Steve from the organisation spoke about this, that you're at lots of events where people are talking about mental health and talking about challenges, but they're always talking about it as if it's happening to other people, whereas statistically you know that a quarter of the room are going through these challenges. And I think when you start looking at the numbers, it's so obvious that we all know people are going through these challenges, and there's no shame in it. There's absolutely no embarrassment. There's no shame. It's really important that people speak out and seek the help and support that they need, and they should feel confident in doing so. Know that you're not alone. Look at the numbers. There are huge numbers of people going through these challenges. If it's, you know, 1 in 5 or 25%, whatever it is, we've got 10,000 people involved in football in Herefordshire, 2,500 people. You know, that's kind of 25%. So we know that even within our small county, there's this huge part of the game and society that are going through these challenges, and we just don't need to. There's no shame in it. So yeah, I would encourage everyone that is struggling, even if you're just having a down day, just talk to people about it. And if those down days continue and it's not just a down day, it's a down week and a down month, then start asking for help, because there are people out there who get it, who've been through it, and who are aid to provide support to make sure that we can, you know, collectively start reducing this number of people who we're losing, you know, close people to us, relatives, whoever it may be, when actually there are things out there to help these people. It's a massive issue for society. We just look at the numbers and it's impacting huge numbers of people. The statistic that really jumped out at me, and this number might be wrong, but it's something along the lines of, so we know the number of people that we're losing to suicide. If you look at the number of attempted suicides, it's something like 25 for every one. And again, that number might be wrong, but it's in that ballpark. When you start thinking about that, it's really scary. It's clearly a massive epidemic, and I think collectively as society, we've got to do our bit to help and support it. Organisations are getting much better at it, but I think what really helps is more people coming out and saying, look, as an organisation, we're doing this, and it impacts me, and it impacts this person and that person, because that starts normalising the conversation, because everyone has mental health. Life is hard. Life has challenges and struggles, so people are going to be impacted, and lots of external factors happen that impact people. I just think there's a really good opportunity at the minute that the conversation is turning and it's becoming much more normal to see. But what you see is people sort of changing the dial and having the conversation. I think the important bit is the action that follows behind it. I know we're talking about rolling out what I think will be a pretty powerful project just to do our little bit for football within Herefordshire. I think the more projects such as that we can do, that not only normalise the conversation but start equipping people and upskilling people to be able to deal with these difficult conversations. Look, if I thought long and hard about doing this. It's quite, a sensitive subject to talk about. But if this conversation helps just one person, then it's worthwhile doing. And I think if we all take that approach, then eventually we can help lots and lots and lots of people. So look, it's clear from the numbers that there is a massive issue, and there's lots of really, really good work that is being done. And I think we should all, rally together to collectively help reduce these numbers as much as we can, because every single person that we lose, it's not just that person, it's everyone around them is impacted. And of course what happens is lots of people around them, their mental health is impacted, and it goes on and on and on. So yeah, it's such an important issue for me personally, and the Herefordshire Football Association, it's obviously a really important issue for all of us as well. In terms of me personally, obviously collectively as an organisation is something that is really important to us. We know that this has impacted the football community across Herefordshire, so we are all on board to try and do what we can. In terms of me personally, I always try and be open and transparent with the team and encourage the team to be open and transparent. We always try and have conversations about mental health and these sorts of issues on a regular basis. I always try and understand each and every one of the team and work out where they are and work out where there might be challenges. We have mental health first aiders within the organisation, and personally I will be signing myself up for one of these courses that we're about to be rolling out across the county, to make sure that I am better equipped and upskilled to deal with these things. On a personal note, in terms of my own social groups, I am always encouraging my friends and my family to talk about these issues, and I will be using this conversation as another tool to send that out and remind people how important it is. And I've had some kind of successes in terms of trying to normalize that conversations within my own social groups. There was a big group of male friends, and we are probably your typical blokes. We meet up, we have a few drinks, we go to the pub, all that sort of stuff. And there are people within that group, who've had challenges over the years, and we are really good as a group about supporting each other and normalising that conversation. So yeah, I will do what I can in terms of leadership of the organisation, but that's an easy one because the organisation is fully behind this. In terms of, on a personal note, just always trying to lead by example, just being open, transparent, honest, trying to help where I see people are have challenges, trying to do what I can to kind of continuously change that dial in terms of normalising the conversation, and making sure, on a really sort of micro level, making sure that my family and my children are hopefully raised into a world where these sorts of conversations are just very normal. Because as I said, everyone has mental health, everyone has challenges and problems, and hopefully I can do my bit to just improve, even if it's on a very small level. Encourage anyone who's been through challenges or issues themselves, if you feel comfortable talking about it, please do. Feel empowered by talking about it. There's, on a personal note, I can confirm that at least for me, there hasn't been any negativity or embarrassment or anything like that about talking about these things. Across my county of Herefordshire, I would encourage everyone to sign up for our project, which we'll be launching over the next couple of weeks, in terms of making sure that people are better equipped to have these conversations, better equipped at spotting the red flags and knowing what to say and how to say it, of particular importance, what not to say. And making sure that people are always looking out for each other. We all know there was that really powerful video that lots of people would have seen of the Norwich City spectators. There's two of them. One of them seemed quite down and depressed, the other one doesn't. And the end of the video, the message is, the one who doesn't seem down and depressed, we lost to suicide. Actors, but very powerful. So I think, there's lots and lots of opportunities. The simplest thing that people can do is just learn a bit about this area, look at what you can be doing to sign yourself up to help this kind of collective fight, but just have conversations with people, just ask how people are. And if you ask how people are and they say, yeah, I'm okay, but that's not the answer, just challenge that in a nice way to make sure that they really are, because lots of times people aren't. And sometimes all it needs is just that right question asked at the right time for people to open up. And sometimes all you need to do is open up. when you're kind of living in your head, as I did for quite a long period of time, it's too easy to stay in there. And sometimes just opening up a bit is all that people need. So yeah, I think there's lots and lots of little things, from signing yourself up, becoming an expert in the area, and sort of dedicating lots of time to it, right down to just asking people how they are, and if you know they're probably not, sort of just pushing them a bit when they inevitably say yeah fine. And yeah, I think there's just lots that we can all do together.
Nobody does it better than us.